So welcome to August 2020 Reiki Call. I'm Karen Harrison. My website is www.karenharrison.net. And these Reiki calls are posted on my website and also on YouTube and Google Play, and also on iTunes, and I think we're also getting them on Spotify. So pretty exciting. I'm going to mute, I think, everybody until it's time to talk and share, because I'm going to start off with a little opening meditation, and then I can unmute you afterwards. So welcome, Helen. We'll say hello in a minute. So I'm going to just ask you to start by activating your Reiki. And I'm going to activate my Reiki Master symbols, which is the Holy Fire symbol. And then take a deep breath and intend to bring Reiki energy up from the earth through your feet on an inhale and all the way up to the top of your head. And then exhale, send the energy down all the way through your body and out through your feet. And again, inhale, breathing the energy up through your body. And then back down, out through your feet, releasing all that you no longer need. And now I've been working with some special frequencies of light that are coming through in the Holy Fire energy. And starting with the light of grace. We call on the light of grace, and the light of grace surrounds us with its loving energy, pulsating all around. And you might see colors or feel some energy moving in your body. The light of grace brings everything that we might want or need. And as it comes more into form, it differentiates into more specialized streams of light. And so we call on the light of courage. The light of courage rises up from the earth, filling us with the courage to face whatever we need to face. It gives us support in whatever tasks we need to do, whatever new beginnings we might want to take on. And the light of courage surrounds us and enfolds us. And then brings in the light of truth. The light of truth illuminates everything around us, filling everything with truth. When the light is bright, all the darkness disappears within the light of truth as it flows around us and through our space, helping us to know in our lives what is most true for each one of us. And next, the light of beauty surrounds us with beautiful colors, colors of pink and purple, lavender, yellow, gold, red, white, green. The light of beauty It's like many rainbows encompassing us all, helping us to see beauty in ourselves and others and in situations. And as we see that light of beauty, it moves us into a state of peace. Now calling on the light of peace as the energy flows through us and around us, melting any discord, helping us to be centered and grounded, calm, trusting that everything is working exactly as it's supposed to be for our highest good. And as we feel peace, we enter into a state of compassion for ourselves and for others, giving ourselves the gift of grace to be gentle with ourselves, to be gentle with others, and allow everyone to be exactly who they are. And as we feel that compassion, it melts into the light of joy. The light of joy flows through us and around us, pulsating with brilliant colors. Some of the colors rise up from the earth like beautiful flowers, and some descend from the heavens like beautiful veils of light, showering us with joy. And now we just take a moment to absorb all this, to take it in, allowing ourselves to receive and be in that state of peace. And we are grateful for the gift of Reiki, the gift of Holy Fire Reiki, the gift of the lights, the gift of each one of you showing up to give and receive Reiki, to share your divine gifts with each other. And take another deep breath, and as you feel ready, call yourself back into this space. And you can open your eyes. Okay, now I'm gonna unmute you all. Okay, that didn't work. Mute all, okay. Allow participants to unmute themselves. Okay, if you're not talking, I do invite you to stay muted. It just kind of helps to have less noise. But I want to go through and have you, just say your name and what level of Reiki you have and where you're, like maybe the name of your city. So we can welcome you. Let's start with Shanta.
Let me unmute. I'm Shanta. I just finished Reiki 1 and 2, and I'm from St. Louis.
Welcome. Okay, and Rebecca.
Hi, I've gone through Reiki, Master Reiki, and I'm in Lebo, Kansas.
Welcome. And Lucy.
I'm in Olathe, and I'm actually at Master, but I've been away from it for a while, so I'm trying to get back in.
Okay, welcome. And Helen.
I had to mute. Hi, I'm Helen. I'm in New Haven, Connecticut, and I'm a Sui Holy Fire 3 Reiki Master, I believe.
Wonderful. Welcome. And yes, I'm Karen Harrison, Reiki Master Teacher. So, okay, great. Well, we're going to start with your questions first, and then I have a whole list of questions. And I think this is most fun if we kind of do it in a discussion format, you know, where we're all kind of sharing rather than me just answering your questions. So, Lucy, you said that you had a little bit of a block about not participating in Reiki Circle in person, and would that really work at a distance, right? Oops, you're muted. Do you want to unmute yourself?
How's that?
Yes.
Santa's muted too.
Yeah, I know about distance Reiki. I mean, it's very obvious, but for some reason, I just feel like there's something missing, not being with everybody.
Mm-hmm. Well, we certainly do miss not being with everyone. And yeah, the reason that we're not doing the in-person Reiki share is the room that we have is fairly compact. And if we put a bunch of people in there, you know, 8, 10, 12, 15, even if we have masks on and then we're all touching each other, that just doesn't seem like the safest environment. So distance Reiki works. You know, how many of you have done distance Reiki?
I have really.
Okay. All right. So Lucy, you've
Right.
done distance Reiki, and did you feel that it was working?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, so distance Reiki works, and we don't have to wear a mask, and you know, we don't have to worry about getting sick or making somebody else sick. So that's awesome. And we can give each other virtual hugs. So here you go, Lucy. Here's your hug.
Thank you. Hug back.
Yeah, so it'll be next Monday as our online Reiki share, where instead of having Reiki discussion like we're having tonight, we just mostly do Reiki share for 2 hours. And everybody gets, about 7 minutes of Reiki from a group of people all at once. And you get to ask for whatever it is that you want Reiki for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have a question. It's very specific.
Yeah.
You know, so you know the Reiki peace grids William Lee Rand put at the North and South Pole and several other areas.
Yes.
So whenever I was under the idea that we were supposed to send Reiki to the peace grids.
Uh-huh.
When I do that, I don't feel Reiki flowing at all most of the time.
Uh-huh.
So I'm confused about it. I don't know if you have any. I just don't feel it flowing. So I don't know why.
Okay. Well, it is an object, not a person. Okay. Well, have any of the rest of you tried that, sending Reiki to the grids? No? All right.
I mean, I do the intention that the grids were founded in, for peace between and cooperation through all religious paths.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know. I'm like, why does this not? I feel Reiki working when I'm doing it.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Something with it.
Yeah. Well, I would go ahead and send it and just trust it is working, and probably because it's an object rather than, people, just trust that it's working. But you could also just intend to send Reiki to all people on the earth too, for peace. Maybe
Yeah.
that would give you a sense of more like connection there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anybody else have any other ideas? Okay. It stumped us. Okay.
I
Anybody?
felt I was going to stump you. I was like, Ah.
Yeah.
And the other thing about the grids is there's that monthly peace meditation on them, but it doesn't say in the emails to send Reiki to the grid. It says like meditate on the grid or meditate on world peace during that time instead of sending Reiki.
Well, you can do that too. One of the things I suggest is that you take the grid, print it out, and hold it in your hands and intend to send Reiki to the grids to blanket the world with peace. But I suggest if you try that and you're not feeling it that way, then try it with a slightly different intention.
Mm-hmm.
Intend to send Reiki to all people for world peace. Or here's a good one, to our world leaders for peace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, any of those, just change it up a little bit. I like to encourage everyone to be a Reiki explorer and try different things and then see what results you get.
I've been charging my guitars with Reiki with the intention of me and anyone listening receiving Reiki.
Uh-huh. Okay, great. Does somebody have a battery going out on their smoke detector?
I'm so sorry, that's me.
That's yours. Okay.
I've become immune to it. I don't hear it anymore.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Any other questions?
I have a question. So I'm getting ready to start volunteering to do hospice, and I'm really nervous about people who are nonverbal. Like, how do I know it's okay to give them Reiki?
Okay. So you're going to be volunteering in a hospice organization?
Yeah.
Okay. Do they have some volunteer training for you about how to handle that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, there's always nonverbal communication, but I don't know. For some reason, it worries me, like not getting that consent verbally.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So when you are going to give Reiki to someone who can't give their consent, you just say a little prayer and ask permission to give them Reiki. And then, you can just wait until you hear like a yes in your head. Or I think what a lot of people do with hospice is they will take the person's hand and, activate the Reiki and send them, Reiki. And if they are open to receiving, then you'll start to feel maybe a little tingling in your hands. Maybe your hands start to warm up a little bit. But especially for nonverbal people, it's important to find out from the people that work there who it's okay to touch, who it might not be okay to touch, like where it would be okay to touch them. Generally, the hands or, maybe the shoulder or the leg, something like that. Or you could just sit and beam Reiki to their energy field. But people have all different types of reactions that are, that are in kind of their final stages of life. I'm just thinking about, I spent a lot of time, my mother was in the memory care unit for 3 years before she passed. And there were a variety of people there that were nonverbal, and some of them, were maybe combative and some were more peaceful.
Right.
Some could talk, some couldn't. So I think it's really a case by case basis. But you can also go to Reiki.org, and I believe that they now have available for you to do a search in the Reiki web store for articles on Reiki and hospice.
Okay.
So over the years, they've published probably 3 to 5 articles that I can remember since 2000, over the last 20 years.
Mhm.
You know, at least that many, and that would be helpful to read. Okay, great question. Oh, well, here I am answering. Anybody have any other thoughts? Anybody else worked in hospice, volunteered?
I haven't, but I've done lots of long distance Reiki, and my uncle who passed less than a year ago, I was doing Reiki, sending him Reiki every night for about 3 months.
Yeah.
And I was just going on, I was asking the Reiki to flow for the highest good, and with the intention, like, if it's good for him to receive it and he wants to receive it, he will. And if he doesn't, it won't flow. And that worked for me. And he never, he received the Reiki the entire time, but it was done without like any conscious verbal exchange between us, any like actual
Me too.
permission.
Okay. Cool.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, it's like you have to remember that person has even if they're nonverbal, they're still they can still, on whatever level they're operating on, if they don't want to receive Reiki, they can choose not to. And in those cases, I believe Reiki simply won't flow because it respects free will and free choice. Like,
Right.
Karen. So it sort of takes the pressure off of you, whether you're doing something right or wrong. You can just ask the Reiki to flow and trust that person.
Gonna get what they need from it or not if they don't want it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Sort of like taking yourself out of the equation more and just sort of letting it be between the Reiki energy and the person and their decision.
Okay.
Sounds good. Okay, I'm going to mute you again, Helen, for our
Great.
get some batteries. Okay, any other questions? All right, well, then I'm going to move into some of the questions that people have sent me. So one woman writes, I had an unusual experience when giving a Reiki treatment last week. I was giving a woman a treatment and it felt like there was some kind of block not allowing the Reiki to enter her body. I got really hot and could feel the energy building, but it didn't seem to be going anywhere. When I reached her pelvic area, the energy began flowing in a strong way, and the rest of the treatment was like others. She also reported feeling what I was feeling and said her legs felt so heavy she didn't know if she could move them. Any thoughts on this? So what do you all think? What would you tell her? All right, well, here's what I told her. I said, it sounds like there was a blockage, you know, because the energy wasn't moving. And whenever there's a blockage, you can just ask the person to intend to be open and receptive to all the healing energy, to be like a sponge, to soak it up. You can move to a different body part. Or here's another really good way, put the person face down so they relax more. Sometimes people that are really mental or anxious have a harder time receiving the energy. So those are some different ways that I've found. I've also tried sound healing, like Reiki drumming, where I take a flat drum and I draw, you know, like maybe the Reiki 2 symbols over it. And then I hold it about, oh, I don't know, 4 to 6 inches over their body, and then lightly drum and that helps to get them into a more meditative, relaxed state. And then I said if her legs felt heavy, she was likely very relaxed at the end. So again, if you try something and it doesn't seem to work, try something else. You know, move to a different part of the body. Okay, the next question. I have an elderly friend who wants to receive the Reiki Master Attunement, the ignitions, mainly for the healing energy. I don't think he wants to do the 3-day class. What would be the least amount of time, you know, that I could teach the class and, you know, the time allowed in between ignitions? So what I said is with Holy Fire 3, there's no certain amount of time in between the ignitions. We do recommend that people teach the class and the material and not just give the ignitions, because there's so much material to the Holy Fire that really supports the Holy Fire, like concepts of the authentic self and the dormant self and the brothers and sisters of the light. But if a person wants to teach a shortened class where you're not teaching, I think it's at least 5 hours a day, you can do that, just don't give them a certificate. Okay, you should only give them a certificate if you're covering the material and teaching, say, at least 5 hours a day. Okay, that's my daughter in the background talking to her dog. Mm-hmm. Yeah, her best friend. Okay. All right, so the next question, this one I've heard a number of times. I've been practicing Reiki for a little over a year. I have Holy Fire 3 levels, Master and Karuna. I self-treat and share distance Reiki and sometimes share Reiki with my husband. I still do not feel Reiki as my hands do not warm up, nor do I receive any other physical indications. I'm wondering if others have had this, and I'm hoping that because I don't feel the Reiki, this doesn't mean I don't have it or I'm not attuned to it, or I can't connect with it as a conduit of this divine healing energy. So I've had that question a number of times. So what would you all say? Any thoughts? I'm just going to go shut the door for my daughter talking to the dog.
All I can think of is that person getting feedback from the people she's giving Reiki to and seeing what they're feeling, what they're experiencing, and that would be probably good validation about Reiki working or not. I also know my original Reiki teacher telling me she knew someone who never ever got any sort of feedback that told them Reiki was working. It was very clearly working because of what the people were experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
I think if she really wants it to change and she wants sort of feedback, she could just pray about it and ask, can I start feeling something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think asking for feedback is an excellent way, you know, to check that out, because with some Reiki students, their ability to perceive the Reiki energy takes more time to develop than their ability to give the energy. Because, you know, whenever I've had a student in class who said they didn't feel the energy, as long as they had intended to turn it on, and I have them put their hands over my hands, you know, like that. So their hand is here and my hand is here. I have always been able to feel the energy flowing from their hands. But it can take longer to develop the ability to perceive that. And then there's some people whose hands don't get warm, and those people tend to be people who just have cold hands all the time. So if your hands are normally cold, they're probably not going to get as warm as other people's hands. But that doesn't mean that the energy isn't flowing. The typical sensations for feeling Reiki are some warmth in the hands, some, gentle tingling and pulsation. But it's very subtle. And I tell people, if you take one hand and move your fingers over your palm, maybe an inch away, it's that subtle of a sensation at times. Any other thoughts about that question?
I know one of the sensations, well, I don't know if it's a sensation I get, is my breathing changes. When I'm giving Reiki, it comes, also does that with other modalities or in prayer. But like if your breathing becomes deeper and fuller, and also I've also noticed my breathing will sync up with the person I'm giving Reiki to. So we're breathing in and out at the same rate and very deeply and effortlessly often. So I think that's another thing to pay attention to is feedback, whether Reiki's flowing or not, is your own breathing and the other.
Yeah, that can be really beautiful. If you kind of start to synchronize your breath with a person and you're breathing together, you're really feeling connected with each other. Particularly if they're breathing slowly and deeply. I wouldn't want to synchronize my breath to somebody that's going, or is anxious. But, if they're calm, then that can be really beautiful. Okay. Awesome. Okay, next one is, can we give Reiki to someone who broke her wrist a few days ago? I think Reiki is good for anyone who's willing to receive it, but I had read somewhere it was not advised to do Reiki on broken bones. Any light on this topic?
To the ankle. To
Give
the
Reiki.
ankle.
Give Reiki to the ankle?
Yes.
Okay, why do you say that?
Like reflexology. Like reflexology, you do the opposite.
Okay, so if you know the reflexology point for the wrist, to give Reiki there.
Yeah, do the ankle instead.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right. That's an idea. Cool. Anybody else?
Or just
Or just what?
or just let go and let it go where it needs to go.
Mm-hmm.
Let go and let Reiki.
That sounds good too. Any other ideas?
I remember this issue coming up a long time ago from somebody who had, a regular Usui attunement, let's say like 20 or more years ago, that there used to be some sort of issue about if you give Reiki too soon before the bone set, it'll make the bone heal in a broken, unset way. But I have no idea if that was actually ever true, if Reiki would actually do that. I sort of doubt it. And then I'm sure at this point with Holy Fire Reiki, that has happened. But that's like my only.
Do no harm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know somebody said that to me a long time ago, that they thought if you gave Reiki to a broken bone before it's set, it'll heal. But crooked has not been set.
Yeah.
So I just, at this point, I believe that just fundamentally doesn't happen with Reiki, but maybe that's coming from this idea that's been out there.
Yeah, so that's what I would classify as a Reiki myth, that you shouldn't give Reiki to a broken bone. Now, I would definitely do the Reiki hands off. I wouldn't be touching that area. And Reiki is not meant to be in place of medical care. So for example, one of my best friends recently was rollerblading, saw a squirrel, fell and broke her wrist. So, she texted me right away. I immediately started sending distance Reiki to her, and, they x-rayed it, and it was fractured, but they hoped that she wouldn't need surgery to set it. And she asked for Reiki from, some of the other Reiki people that she knows, including on my Reiki with Karen Facebook group for my Reiki students. And she is not going to need surgery to get it, reset or anything. It was totally fine. And it's healing up. And I think, within, I think a total of around 6 to 8 weeks, I think she said the whole thing was going to be fine. So, I think that's pretty exciting. So whenever there is an injury, send Reiki right away. We call it the Reiki golden hour, or, the first 24 hours after an injury can be especially helpful to send Reiki, because there's not only the physical part, but there's also the mental and emotional part of the injury. So Reiki is good for all of that. And the more that, we can send it right away, it just helps to relieve the trauma. Okay, the next question. Someone wrote, the other night I did a Reiki session on my little sister for the first time. The next day I checked in to see how she felt. And she said she had a really sad dream, and she didn't think she ever dreamed because she never remembers them. I said, that's probably because I was able to clear some blocks to help your energy flow. She also said she felt so relaxed. My question is, would I have cleared blocks so she can or did remember her dream? So what do you all think?
I guess it just made me think that healing can come in progressive stages. So it sounds like something got cleared in her that allowed some sort of sadness to come up to the front. So the sadness maybe had been blocked and suppressed, and it needed to be maybe experienced for it to heal. So it might be like, there might be like multiple stages in healing, including beginning to remember your dreams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was thinking, that the Reiki helped her to sleep deeper, which allowed her to enter a deeper sleep state, to dream and remember her dreams. And, that she did likely clear some blockages, and maybe some of what she was releasing was showing up in her dream.
It also reminded me of the healing I read about a little boy with autism, and he wasn't receiving Reiki, but using flower remedies and some other modalities. And his mother said he never showed emotion. And after he started doing healing work, he was sitting in front of the TV one day, and there was something sad on like a cartoon, and he was upset and was crying, and it was actually quite a relief for the mother because he was showing a regular emotion that had, so like stuff had been stuffed, things in him had been stuffed down and blocked, so he wasn't feeling emotion. So that was like a
Mm-hmm.
getting better out of autism.
Cool. It's a neat story. Okay, this next one is really fascinating. So a guy writes, does my heart need to be clear of negative energy before I can use Reiki? My wife has had some serious abuse in her past. At the age of 5, she had satanic abuse, and now she has a sensitivity that about all sorts of different things. And she says that she's fearful of her husband doing Reiki, because I guess she doesn't really understand it. And his wife has asked him not to practice Reiki until he can clear his heart of the blackness that is there from his own abuse and trauma that he had as a child. And he said, I tried to tell her it doesn't work that way, that Reiki is light and good, cannot be used for evil, it can't be forced on anyone, that you don't need to be perfect before you practice it. So I'm just going to go ahead and answer this so that we have time to have a little bit of Reiki share here at the end. So I just wrote him that, this is some difficult stuff. When you do Reiki, all you do is say a prayer, call on God, Jesus, or an ascended master, set your personality and ego aside to be a clear and open channel for only the highest and holiest Reiki energy. And Reiki is only light and from God and can't be used for bad purposes. And many people have been abused by religion and have a fear of Reiki. So that can cloud how they see it, and it can cause them to become fearful. Said you'll just have to work that out in your marriage. And you don't have to be perfect to practice Reiki. I mean, none of us are. I'm certainly not. Instead, all you do is intend to set your personality and ego out of the way. And know your heart doesn't have to be clear either. If we had to do that, there'd be large portions of our lives we couldn't give Reiki, because all of us have things that are coming up, all the time. So no, your heart doesn't have to be clear. You just go ahead and give Reiki and let Reiki do the work. And if you have a partner that is fearful of Reiki, you can also respect that maybe they don't want Reiki. You don't have to give your partner Reiki. You can give it to somebody else who does want it. So I don't ever suggest to try and force Reiki on anyone. So ask them, and if they don't want it, then that's okay. Give Reiki to yourself. Give Reiki to somebody else. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to activate our Reiki, and we're going to intend to send Reiki to each other. And then also for healing world issues, I think we have a few right now. Reiki to heal the coronavirus, Reiki for, equality for all people, Reiki for peace and divine justice, Reiki for our postal service and our elections, and how about Mother Earth, So luckily we can send Reiki to a number of things all at once. So let's activate our Reiki. Either drawing or visualizing the symbols or intending them. And then we're going to intend to send Reiki to each other and everyone who watches this later, as well as the different world issues. And you can hold your hands up, you can hold them down, you can put them on yourself, whatever you like. Okay, we're going to bring that to a close and then disconnect. Wow, I was getting so relaxed. I could almost fall asleep here. I don't know about any of the rest of you. Lucy, did you feel that? Yeah? Okay, we can't hear you, but let's see. I have to unmute.
Especially when we meditated too during the both times.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right.
My spirit guide.
Oh, yeah. The beginning meditation.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What about the rest of y'all? Do you feel the energy? That felt good. So thank you all so much for coming and contributing your questions, your thoughts. It makes it a lot more interesting to have Reiki discussion than just to have me on here by my lonesome self. So next week will be Reiki Circle 7 to 9. For the summer, I was just kind of experimenting, you know, what Reiki Call is an hour, so I thought I'd try it 8 to 9. Do you all like the later time? I know, Helen, that for you, that's really late on the East Coast. Or should I move it back to 7 p.m. Central for September? What do you think?
I'm okay with it.
Huh?
I'm okay with it.
Okay, either way. Anybody else have an opinion?
I'm okay with either time. I think usually, depending on what else is going on in my life, but I don't have like a strong opinion about one or the other.
Okay. Shanta? What do you think?
I was just going to say it's actually easier to do the later time, but you know, it is what it is.
The later time is easier.
I like later.
Okay.
It is, yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. Okay. Well, thanks. And we'll hopefully see you again soon.